Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Dr. BB in the Middle. And this week I find myself smack dab in the middle of the problem of wokeness. This week I, as usual, watching my favorite news program, MSNBC, and happened upon the replay of an interview with James Carville, who was talking about the problem of wokeness, woke Democrats. I wanted to have a problem with it. But I went on and I read the Vox interview, not Fox, Vox with a V interview with James Carville. Now, as I was listening to him, I had an immediate knee-jerk, almost visceral response because of his accent. And because he is incredibly white. And so here he was talking about wokeness being a problem. Now, he is from deep in the bowels of the South, and his accent comes out in every diphthong. So as I sat there and listened to him, I just really had to put my feelings on hold for a minute. You see, I've listened to and read Carville since I was in my 20s. He is what one would have considered a new Democrat back in the 60s when the parties flipped agendas. Now, if you don't know about that, well, that's a little bit of part of the problem that we have today. You see, I have to remember that, and I had to remember that as I read. I needed to be sure that I was giving him his voice. Now, what I have learned in my research of racial studies, critical race theory, is that white people are predisposed, to only listening to other white people. White people are pre-programmed to see other white people, as the authority, or at a minimum, their peers. The problem is, black people have been programmed to see white people as the authority, period. So with all that in mind, I took a breath. Something that has been increasingly difficult to do lately. I then went to the primary source, and I read that interview word for word. I read it more than once, and I took notes. That is what I have always instructed my students, as well as my adversaries, to do when it comes to supporting claims. I needed to see how well Mr. Carville had supported his. No, he did not cite scholarly sources. In fact, his chief complaint was that the language of wokeness used by the Democrats today is what he called faculty lounge talk, and that the average person does not know, what these woke Democrats are talking about, whether the average person be black, white, or other. So that brings me to my point. Because, you see, Mr. Carville got me to thinking, and when he asked this question, it really got me thinking. He asked, what does community of color mean anyhow? Doesn't that sound like all people of color live in the same neighborhood? Like they all know one another? So this brings me to my next point, and then I'll come back to this one. Of color. How is this any different from colored? People of color, colored people. So communities of color could just as well be interpreted as the colored neighborhood, or what it was called when I was growing up, the quarters. Damn you, Mr. Carville, with your thick Southern accent and your down-to-earth logic. I wanted to actually be angry. to be disappointed in you. But you made sense. You made me think. Now I feel it is incumbent upon me to make others think. In South Africa, persons are either white, black, or they are colored. South Africa of apartheid fame. Some of you may remember that. Colored people were the mixed people. They have some color to their skin. I would be, according to that definition, colored. Now, black people are often offended by the word Negro. However, the word Negro is translated to black in English from the Latin-based languages. Over the years, it has gotten too intertwined with the slur, and yes, I'm going to say it, nigger. And you don't have to take my word for it. Read yourself some Dick Gregory or little James Baldwin. It'll do you good. Now, this word is a slur no matter who is saying it, whether it is the most gold-adorned rapper or the white police officer telling a black man to get out of the car and lay face down on the ground. The word hurts my mind when I read it or think it. It hurts my ears when I hear it. It hurts my mouth when I say it, which is only ever in context such as this. And it hurts my soul when I feel it. When people ask me what I am, I tell them I am multiracial. I am, in culture, ethnicity, and soul, closer to the black community. I love it, everything about it, even the bad parts, because I cannot help anyone out of the bad unless I can love them in it. It is home to me. I adopted it as my own as soon as I could get my ass out of Oppressiveville, Alabama, where the one-drop rule rules. I would rather be identified as black, Negro, or mixed, to be honest, than of color. I prefer multiracial. I prefer to simply be accepted as someone who represents the best of who we all are. No division, no hatred, no oppression. James Carville, if you are listening to this, and I doubt you are because I am just not that big yet, I'm sorry for my knee-jerk reaction. I understand what you are saying. And not because I have a PhD in speak faculty, but because I have a soul that is connected and wants to be connected to all people who simply wish to live and love in a United States of harmony. And so that brings me to my final point. The word woke is in the past tense. We are looking to the past for evidence as to why we need to fix our present and secure our future. I say we need to wake the hell up. We woke yesterday. We are awake today. And we will remain awake tomorrow. Let's wake up, my brothers and sisters of all shades and hues. Let's wake up. And let's stay awake. Together.